Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Jonathan back again with the weekly scuffle, and I'm here to talk about the fight, or fights, should I say, of the weekend. Starting off with Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza. And honestly, I think this is a great fight. I think this is the fight where you look at the big three names in this event: Teo, Ryan, Devin. This is the one where it's not really favorable for Teo to win. Teo has struggled in his last few fights. The fight against Ortiz, the fight against Claggett, the fight against Sandor Martin. There's been weird Teo ups and lows. So, when the opponents actually step up, that's when Teo tends to step up. And Barbosa, he's coming off a great victory against Jack Catterall, and he is a mover, which hasn't historically been good opponents for Teo, especially because of Teo's counterpunching style. Since moving up, Teo also hasn't shown the same power that he had at the lower weight classes. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out. I will have Teo winning this, but at the same time, I don't think it's a shock or bad to say that Barbosa could pull this off. I think Barbosa has a great chance. I think it's a real 50-50 fight coming into this event. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if either guy takes it. I think Teo, home crowd, he's trying to put on a statement. He's finally on that big stage, you could say, with the Ryan Garcias, with the Devin Haneys. And, he wins this, the opportunities are endless for him. So, of course, I think Teo has a lot of pressure on his shoulder, but I think he has the talent to pull through and win this fight. And on to the next fight with Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez. Honestly, I think Jose Ramirez is the perfect opponent for Devin Haney. We will see if there are any lasting impacts on his last fight with Ryan Garcia and whether or not it truly affected him going forward. I honestly think Devin has the ability to be Ramirez, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a tough fight. People are forgetting Ramirez is a former unified champ, probably the second best opponent for these guys. I think Ryan definitely has the easiest opponent with Rolly. But regardless, I think Devin's gonna show a lot. I don't think the weight cut is gonna be as big because he's fighting at 144. And he has said that in the offseason, this time he took a little bit more precaution. He wasn't ballooning up in weight. He was taking care of his body throughout the offseason before he got into fight camp. So I think that might help him a lot too, learning about the ins and downs of boxing. But regardless, I think Devin will win this fight by UD. But I would not be surprised if Devin moving up in weight, people don't realize when he moved up against Prograde, he showed a little bit more pop. Then the Ryan fight, it looked like he really had to cut down because he ballooned in the offseason. But regardless, I think Devin's going to show levels in this fight. I think he can win this fight, and hopefully we see some improvement because Ramirez is somewhat of a similar type boxer as Ryan Garcia, and even better so in some aspects, more defined and refined, maybe not without the physical attributes, but still definitely a more experienced and top world caliber boxer. So I think it's a great fight for Devin to come back to and prepare him to get ready for that Ryan Garcia rematch. So I have Devin winning this fight. I would not be shocked if it's a UD, but I wouldn't be shocked either if it might be a TKO or something like that, but we shall see. And last but not least, the main event, Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. And honestly, it's an entertaining fight. These two guys are characters in the sport. They've grown their names because of social media and their antics. And I honestly think both these guys are showmen. They're showmen to say the least. I think Ryan definitely has potential in that world stage. I would have loved for him to continue to work with an Eddie Reno, so because I think that's when he was at his best. But I think Derek James is also a great trainer. So I think Ryan is definitely going to show out this fight. He is looking a bit thinner. Maybe no Austrian in his system anymore. So he is fighting at 147, which is the heaviest he's fought at, and he's still looking like he's having to make weight and looking a bit thinner than, especially in the open workout. So I think that's definitely something to look forward to. But at the same time, I think Rolly is also moving up. So both these guys are going to be physically at their peak, I believe. They're both growing into this weight, and they're both coming down from lower weight classes. I do have Ryan winning this by KO. I don't think Rolly is a great boxer. I think Barroso, that fight definitely showed a lot about his chin and what Rolly could take. And I think Ryan's a devastating puncher, and he has all the natural talent in the world. But we'll see how all this plays out, and see you all next time.